That Jalen Brunson leading the way is a super winner, and he's been a winner from college, now in the NBA. He's one of those guys where fourth quarter, ball in his hands, you feel really, really good about that, right? He's just in control, he's calm, he's collected, and Jalen Brunson certainly has a way of taking the game over that's unique in today's day and age. He's not a three-point specialist. He's not like an SGA type where he's just a foul line guy. He's really he's got a great way. I love watching him play. I love the way he controls the game, and he's been doing it since he was in college, and now here he is in the pros. He's just a winner, man. The guy's just a winner. So to see Jalen Brunson getting to the NBA Finals is big up for him. And I think the Knicks have a good supporting cast. They steamrolled their way through the Eastern Conference, which really was kind of a joke of a conference this year anyway. And that series with Cleveland kind of proved that. I thought maybe Cleveland could steal a game or two from New York, but that was never really going to happen. This Knicks team feels a lot like a team of destiny right now in 2026. However, they are running into a pretty big buzzsaw in San Antonio, which I think is the dynasty on the rise in the NBA and one of the top. They're going to be a top program, if you will, for the foreseeable future. So the Knicks certainly have their work cut out for them. One thing I like about the Knicks, I don't know what it is with the Knicks as a team. I really like their supporting cast. You've got Brunson, you've got Towns, you've got OG Anunoby, but like a guy like Josh Hart reminds me a lot like a guy like John Starks from the old Knicks teams, from those 90s teams where he's not a star, he's not a super high scoring guy, but he can just show up and change the game for you with a couple of shots. He brings the energy. I think he comes off the bench these days, and the Knicks always seem to have that kind of guy, right? That energy bench guy that can kind of lift you. I guess I shouldn't say always, because it's been a 26-year drought since they've made it to the finals, but they usually seem to have these guys that can provide a spark off the bench, and I think New York fans really love that. I think that's something that those are nitty-gritty basketball fans who really know ball, and they know you need to have a strong sixth man, a strong second line to kind of come in and give your guys a spell. And I love watching Josh Hart play because of that. He comes off the bench and really gives that team a nice, well-rounded edge. And it showed over the playoffs. They steamrolled. Like I said, they steamrolled all the way through. And I think it's fantastic that New York is back in the finals. And frankly, I think it's fantastic that the Spurs are in the finals a little bit ahead of schedule. If you had been hanging around this house this year, my wife would tell you that I have been calling it that I think, and I just had a conversation with my brother recently, that I think Wemby is on his way to being the next big thing. I really do. I'm trying not to be too hyperbolic with it, but man, the way he can control the game inside out, and the deadly part about Wemby is he can hit those threes too, man. You have to step out on him. You have to get out there. He just stretches you out, and then he can take 1-2 long steps from the 3-point line, and he's there for a finger roll. He's basically dunking after a dribble from the 3-point line. So then what do? You try to have him catch higher, higher out of the paint, and then you try to force him to play from the outside. He can beat you from there. He can beat you, but you certainly can't let him catch on the block or let him catch down low, because he's 7'5" with a 50-foot wingspan. There's just no stopping that. So it's really a pleasure to watch somebody like that who is changing the game, and you have to truly game plan around in a unique way, right? Like, there's a lot of stars you have to game plan around. People like someone like Anthony Edwards or Steph Curry or whoever, Giannis, but they all kind of have like, okay, if we can control this part of their game, we might have a chance. But Wemby, you try to control the first part, and the second and third part still come into play, and you still find yourself having matchup trouble, and that pick and roll is deadly up top. So I think it's going to be really tough to get past these Spurs, not just this year, but for years in the future, because they're just that's a team that they're building it the right way too. They got their piece Wemby, then they added De'Aaron Fox, and they've got these nice pieces on the bench, and it's the right system, and it's the right place for a guy like that. He comes from a long line of centers with Robinson and Duncan, and you can go back to whoever you want, George Gervin and the Iceman, or it seems like a really, really naturally good fit for Wemby in San Antonio. And what I really like about the guy too is that he seems like he wants to win. He wants to be the MVP. He wants to be a champion. When people ask him, he doesn't shy away from it. He doesn't say, well, I'm just hoping to do well, or I'm just doing the best I can, or my teammates. He wants to be the MVP. He wants to be the number one player in the league, which is what you want from a guy like that, right? A guy in that position. You really need to have them want that. And there's only a few guys in the league who I think really want the ball in their hands last minute, no matter what. And Wemby's one of those guys. Again, Anthony Edwards comes to mind with that killer instinct. Steph Curry comes to mind. There's a lot of stars, but it takes another level to say, it's on me and I want you to put it on me. I got into a rather heated back and forth with an old friend about the Celtics and what's wrong with them. And I had said some things that he considered slanderous about Jason Tatum. And it was basically that I just think Jason Tatum maybe sometimes doesn't want that spotlight, doesn't want to be the man, right? He just wants his paychecks. He wants his 30 easy points in the middle of December. But when it comes down to it, sometimes it seems like he shies away from that moment to be the guy. He doesn't want to have it all on him. And that was something that my friend really couldn't reckon with and had a hard time hearing. And frankly, is what drove me to becoming a Knicks fan and to being a little bit more of a universal basketball fan instead of a Celtics diehard, because it was very frustrating trying to have that conversation. So that's kind of the general overview for how I feel about the two teams heading into the finals, right? The Spurs have home court advantage, and they have the best player on the floor in Wemby. But then you can look at the Knicks and say they have the most well-rounded team, and they have all the momentum heading into the finals. They've been blowing teams out by historic margins. They've been playing the best basketball of the century for the franchise. The fans are all rabid, ready for a title. So where do you fall in that? How does that... How do you decide a winner in a situation like that? It certainly feels like it's going to be a 6 or 7 game series, right? And it feels like the key is going to be, it's easy to say Jalen Brunson or Wemby have to carry their teams, but I think it comes down to the other guys, to the Josh Harts, and to the De'Aaron Foxes, and to, like I said, the Anunobys and the Karl Anthony Townses, and the Vassell and the Castle, and they've all got roles to play. And so often in these championships, that's where they're made or broken. It's not necessarily, you expect your great players to play great, but it's those role players, it's the little things, it's who picks up those hustle points, who does the little things that really put their team over the top, because you can expect those stars to carry as much as they can possibly carry. I'm not expecting Jalen Brunson to disappear in the finals, or for Wemby to go for 8-4 in game 3 or anything like that. But so it's really going to come down to coaching, rotations, secondary players playing off the ball. And I think I have to give my edge to the Spurs. I just think the Spurs are ready. I think they are the team. I think we're going to be hearing a lot about the Spurs over the next 5, 10, 15 years, which frankly we've been hearing a lot about the Spurs for the past 10, 15, 20 years. So I give the Spurs an edge. I'd like to say Spurs in 6, but we're hoping for 7 games, right? As a sports fan, hoping for 7, could be 6, but I don't know. I think it's tough. Wednesday's a long way away, and a lot of things can change between now and then in terms of who's got the upper hand. Do you go with momentum, or do you go with overall skill? Do you go with depth, or do you go with peak? There's a lot to really think about when you consider this. But we're rooting out here for the Spurs, but also would be very happy for the Knicks fans and thrilled for them if they get this championship, because they certainly deserve it as a franchise. Those fans are diehard and ready and really deserving as well. I'd love to see Spike Lee get his. I know a lot of people might disagree with that, but I certainly would. That would be a lot of fun. And it's just gonna be a great series. I don't think the NBA could have asked for a better 1-2. You've got the biggest market in the country, and the biggest rising star in the league going against each other. So as far as I'm concerned, that's what you want when it comes to your finals, and that's what we've got. So I'm sure the NBA is pretty pumped about that, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm not sure what the consensus is out there. I haven't really looked at the betting markets. I haven't looked at any of the odds makers about what the official lines are or who's favored or how many games, but I'm going to say Spurs in 6, just because I think they're going to overpower a little bit of, after watching them take out OKC, who I believe OKC was actually the best team in the league this year, the best well-rounded team that probably, had a good chance at making another run at it. And they did. They went to Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals. But watching the Spurs take them down, it was pretty inspiring that team is ready. But then on the other hand, you've got a 7-game battle on one side, and then the Knicks have been resting for a week with no opponents, no anything. So that's the other one. Do you want rest, or are you worried about rest or rust, right? So a team's got a week off, probably could use it to recover and get to 100%. But the Spurs, they just beat OKC last night. They've got a couple days off, and they're firing. They're firing on all cylinders. And this is the age-old sports debate. Every playoffs, you hear people having this conversation about, would you rather your team be rested or ready? And I think it plays into the Spurs' favor. I think a week off for the Knicks is just a little bit too long to maintain that momentum. And in some ways, you can probably start overcoaching, over-analyzing everything, and you just want to get out there and just play ball. I'm sure they're ready. I'm sure they're ready to head to San Antonio and just ready to play some basketball after a week of the city being completely on fire, the country really getting behind the Knicks, and it's got to be fun. It's got to be fun for them. Even, that Knicks team, they feel like almost, it's not a March Madness run because they were one of the best teams in the league all year and they deserve this, but for the city, the Knicks fans, I think, have been so conditioned to getting their hopes up and then letting them down, and hopes up and then down. And, as a Boston sports fan, I remember what that was like, and it's tough and it sucks. So hoping the Knicks come out looking good game 1. I don't see them going into San Antonio and winning game 1, but that doesn't mean they're cooked, and I do think we'll have a pretty good series on our hands. Looking for 6 games, maybe 7. Spurs are going to win it, though. What do you think? Do you think the Spurs or the Knicks are going to pull away with the championship? Because there's a lot up in the air, and these are two teams that we haven't seen these makeups of these teams in this spot before. So it's going to be so interesting and so exciting. I just can't wait to watch it. We'll be covering it here. I'll be making shorts. We'll be making videos. Speaking of those shorts, I just wanted to say thank you anyone who's been checking them out on YouTube. We're consistently hitting a few hundred. A couple are over 1,000 views. We're hitting those every day. We're doing a lot of the card collection stuff on there, but also posting our podcasts and things like that. So want to thank everybody who has been checking those out, or our new subscribers. We're still working hard to get to those 50 subscribers so I can start doing some live streams on YouTube. That will be huge, to be able to do live streams on YouTube, especially during Comic-Con. I'd like to be able to do it during the NBA Finals, but that might be a bit of a stretch goal. And so if we get to 50 before Comic-Con, that would be a great goal to hit, and we'll be able to give you some live content. Go away there talking to all the interesting people that come to San Diego for that event. So that would be really a lot of fun, and that would be a good goal to hit. And I just wanted to let some of you know who have been following the baseball card stuff on the YouTube. We're starting a new program on the YouTube where I'm blind buying 3 cards from the dollar box at the local card store. We'll be blind buying 3 cards probably once a week for $1 each. It comes to $3.24 or whatever it is. And we'll put 1 card into an envelope for keeping, 1 card in an envelope to give away to a subscriber on YouTube, and then the 3rd envelope we'll be putting a card blind into and sending those to my nephew. My nephew recently had his basketball card collection accidentally, through no fault of his own, during a household change. I don't know if they got lost or they got thrown out, but he lost a bunch of cards. So we will be doing 1 to keep, 1 to give away, 1 to send to the nephew. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'd love it if you could check those out. And when we get to 100 subscribers, we're going to do a live opening of those envelopes, check out what the cards are inside, and then send them off to a subscriber and to my nephew, and then keeping the ones in the keep envelope for myself. Now, of course, if those keep envelope ones end up being really nice cards, I'll probably send them away to the nephew or to the subscribers, because I like those $1 cards. I'm having a lot of fun with that. Just buying and selling and checking them out. It's a fun, nice little hobby, and that's kind of what's been taking over the YouTube feed a little bit, because that's my new hobby. That's my growing thing, and this is what this channel is all about, is talking about hobbies, talking about the things that you're into. And so that's where I am right now. Some people get into bird watching, some people get into baseball cards, some people like to knit. If you are one of those some people, I'd love to talk to you. I'd love to hear how you got into your hobby, who got you into it, where you're taking it, why you do it, who it's for. Those are the things we want to remember here, because as I've said a million times on this podcast is a library of conversations, mostly so far with myself, to be quite honest, that I want my daughter to be able to look back on and hear what I was like at this time here today. And of course, I would love for you to share your stories so that someone can look back and hear you as you are today as well. So if you want to do that and you want to get in touch, it's justforfuncast@gmail.com. Be really happy if you wanted to come on and talk about the things that you're into. We have some photographers coming on pretty soon to talk about the stuff they're doing and how they got into the free range photography and taking their hobby to the next level, and all the ways that we can help support them with that. So that's a big thing. And I think, what else do we have coming up on the podcast this month? We've got 2 Seinfeld episodes dropping this week. That'll be fun. We're still ranking all those Seinfeld episodes, but as the world changes, we've been changing our production here a little bit. So look forward to those. And if you have any ideas of things you'd want me to watch and discuss or talk about on the podcast, please do give us a shout. I say us, it's really just me, but fake it till you make it, baby. So until then, guys, I couldn't wait. I'm really excited about this NBA Finals. I couldn't wait to get on here and do some recording, put an episode up, put something on the board. I'll be back. That's my official prediction. Spurs in 6. Wemby for MVP. What do you think? Who do you got? If you say Knicks in 4, I don't begrudge you. If you say Spurs in 7, no problem. I just want to hear it. Let's get a tally board going. All the predictions, all the fun here at the Just for Funcast. Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. This was a bit of a quick rip right off the top of the cuff. Right off the top of the cuff? Off the top of the head. I just started off talking basketball. It's going to be a great series, and it's going to be a great summer. I hope you're having a great summer. Memorial Day is behind us. It's summertime. Get those hot dogs out. Get your burgers going. Whatever it is you like to do, let's talk about it. Looking forward to meeting all of you at Comic-Con this year. Let's get to 50 subs before then. Thank you for listening. Thank you for joining me. And until next time, my friends, take care of yourselves, and we will talk to you later. Oh, see you later, YouTube.